Today on Warrior Tactical Systems, we're going to talk about the importance of handheld lights. Nick with Warrior Tactical Systems here. Today we're going to talk about the importance of a handheld light. In this video, I'm not going to be shoving a particular light at you. I'll be going over different elements of a light and what you need to look for when you go out to purchase a light. But I also want to talk about the overall importance of using a handheld light. And I talk to guys that say, I have night sights and lasers, red dots, holographics, all them things. Why I need a handheld light? Well, those things help you make hits under low light, but they don't identify your target. And identifying your target is very important. They also don't blind your target. And that little second of blinding your opponent, I should say, might be the difference of whether you come out victorious or they do. So it's very important. A lot of people tell me, well, I have a weapons mounted light. I don't need a handheld light. Well, weapon mounted light are great for engaging a target, but not for identifying. And you got to think about that. When you're identifying with a weapons mounted light, you are covering everything you look at with the muzzle of the gun. And when you train as everything's a threat, that might not really come into your mind. But you have to realize not everything is a threat that you need to identify. Just for example, you hear a bump in the night, you got to go check it out. All you have is that weapon mounted light. You're searching, you come across, you find out it's your kid in the kitchen getting a drink in the middle of the night. Do you really want to put the muzzle of your gun at your kid just to identify that it is your kid in the kitchen? No, you do not. That's a scary situation, because when you cover things with the muzzle like that, what you increase is stress-induced accidental discharge. And you got adrenaline going. You have to be aware of that, and that just increases that. You got to train not to do that, but using the weapons mount light increases the chance of those things happening. It also can get you in some legal trouble. Think about it being in a parking lot at night. You're walking to your vehicle. You see somebody messing around your vehicle. You ain't sure what's going on. You have to identify that person. Is it a threat? Is it not? You need to light them up. Well, if you light them up with your gun with a weapons mounted light, and it turns out that it's just some woman whose dog's stuck underneath your car and she's trying to get it out, well, now you could get in some legal trouble. So that's something you have to be aware of. Now, we talked about identifying your target. Why is identifying so important? Well, like I said, not everything is a threat. You have to know whether it is or it isn't. And when it comes to engaging a target in the dark, when you haven't identified it, it's no different than not identifying someone behind a door and shooting through the door when you think they're a threat. Think of the pretty famous case of Oscar Pistorius, the South African Blade Runner, they called him. He was a runner. He shot through his bathroom door and killed his girlfriend. And he served time for that. He didn't identify that target. And in all honesty, that's no different than not identifying it in the dark. You have to know what you're shooting at. All of us out there have family members or friends or neighbors that we give spare keys to. I've heard a lot of people say, well, if somebody's in my house, they're a threat. Well, that's not always the case. Even if you live alone, we all give out keys, and we all have family members or friends that could be surprising us or coming over or maybe checking on us. They thought they saw somebody around our house and they're checking on us. So you have to know what that target is. You have to be able to identify. That's very important. And to push that importance through to you, I want to tell you about a story of a California police officer. It's a tragic story. It happened about 10 years ago, I believe. This officer did a block of training where he was told that his light made him a target. And yeah, to some extent that's true, but you still have to identify your targets and you still have to use that light. You just have to know how to use it sparingly. So anyhow, he was trained that it made him a target. He was better off not using it. And shortly after that block of training, he got called to an apartment building at night. Some neighbors heard some noises in this apartment. He entered the apartment to check it out. It was dark, all the lights were off. He entered a room where it was lit only by a flickering TV screen. Well, a person got between him and the TV screen, holding what seemed to be a gun. The officer reacted, fired one shot, and he struck a small boy in the neck, and unfortunately that boy died. Now, the reason the lights were off, the boy was left home alone by his mother for over 24 hours. He was too short to reach the light switches. The noise that you heard the neighbors heard was him rummaging through the kitchen trying to find something to eat. And the weapon that the officer saw ended up being a toy gun. The officer himself said that as if he would have used his light, he believes he would have hesitated and tried to identify that that was a real gun, it was a real threat, before he shot due to the age of the boy. He was so young. So this is a terrible story, it is, but it really pushes home the idea that you have to identify your target. If you enjoyed that video, please like and subscribe if you haven't already.